What if I told you there's a source code for reality? An original blueprint for the entire universe? Well, today we're going to dive into an ancient and seriously cryptic text that claims to be exactly that. It tells the story of the universe's initial design, its catastrophic system crash, and the massive ongoing project to restore it all. Okay, let's get into it.
This is it, the very first line of our source, the Sifra DiTzniuta, the Book of Concealment. And according to the great sage, the Vilna Gaon, this single line is the master key to, well, everything. That last phrase, b'mifkala, in the balance, that's not just some nice poetry. It is the fundamental operating principle of a stable, functioning reality. It's the whole game.
So, here's our roadmap. We're going to start by decoding that primordial blueprint. Then, we're going to witness the epic failure of the universe's beta test and the cosmic crash that came right after. From there, we'll explore the grand restoration project known as Tikkun. And finally, and this is the best part, we'll see exactly where you and I fit into this whole cosmic engineering team. All right, first up, we need to understand the original divine plan. And I want you to get the idea of a storybook out of your head. This is more like an architectural schematic for a perfect, stable, and totally balanced creation. So what is this Book of Concealment? Think of it less like a book you'd read and more like a deeply compressed zip file. Seriously, it's not telling a story. It's laying out the foundational logic, the actual operating system of reality, in the most condensed and coded language you can possibly imagine.
And the text itself is structured like a hologram, where the whole thing is contained in every part. It all unfolds from this central core. The text says its first 5 Hebrew words contain its 5 chapters. Those 5 chapters then map onto the 5 books of the Torah, which in turn correspond to 5 primary divine personas, or partsufim. Now, these aren't gods or anything like that. Think of them more like complex, stable configurations of energy that make up the entire architecture of existence.
And the word for book itself, Sifra, gives us a huge clue. In this whole context, a book is the mechanism that takes a silent, hidden, infinite thought and gives it structure so it can be known. Creation itself is really described as an act of divine communication. It moves from the seed of an idea, called hakma, or wisdom, to a structured concept, bina, or understanding, and then finally to expressed, interactive knowledge, dot. So the blueprint was perfect, but the first attempts at actually building the thing? That's another story. This brings us to the universe's beta test. Welcome to the world of Tohu, a universe of just immense but incredibly dangerous, unstable power.
Just try to picture it. A universe of pure, raw, uncalibrated divine energy. We're talking immense light and power, but with no stable containers strong enough to hold it. Each force was absolute, just pure intensity, but there was no structure, no balance, and zero interconnection to moderate any of it. This was Tohu, the world of primordial chaos.
This slide just lays it all out, the stark difference between the two cosmic operating systems. Over on the left, you've got Tohu, a world of total imbalance, of isolation. The forces are described as existing back-to-back, literally unable to see or interact with each other. It's a world dominated by pure judgment, with this incredible, immense light just pouring into weak, brittle containers. But on the right, you have Tikkun, the world of balance, of face-to-face interconnection, where mercy steps in to mediate judgment, and a modulated, sustainable light flows into a strong, stable architecture. And this line from the text just nails the core problem with Tohu. Before there was balance, they did not gaze upon each other face to face. This describes a state of total cosmic isolation. The fundamental forces of reality, things like pure kindness and pure severity, they couldn't interact. They couldn't moderate or balance each other out. Each one just existed in its own absolute, non-negotiable bubble.
And you know where this is going, right? A state of instability like that can only lead to one thing. We've now arrived at the most dramatic turning point in this whole story, the moment Cosmic OS 1.0 experienced a catastrophic system-wide failure. The text explains this failure using this incredible metaphor of the primordial kings of Edom. Now, these weren't actual people. They were personified cosmic principles, vessels for things like pure kindness, pure severity, and so on. Each one tried to rule absolutely, all by itself, receiving this overwhelming, unmodulated flood of divine light. And the source points out their core flaw. They lacked the higher integrating intellects, the mulsion, that would have let them process all that light.
Honestly, it was like running a supercomputer CPU at 100% with no cooling system whatsoever.
Think about it. An overwhelming, infinite light pouring into finite, brittle, isolated containers. The outcome was just inevitable. The whole thing was built on a flawed architecture of imbalance, and in the end, they just could not be sustained.
And the result was catastrophic. The entire system crashed. In the language of the Kabbalah, the vessels shattered. This is the moment known as Shivarat HaKelim, the shattering of the vessels.
But, and this is absolutely crucial, this wasn't an act of random destruction. It was a necessary descent for the sake of a future ascent. The vessels broke, sure, but the holy sparks, the nitzotzot of divine light that were inside them, fell down and became embedded in the fabric of all lower existence, in every rock, every plant, every animal, and in every single one of us. The crash wasn't the end of the universe. It was the event that scattered the raw materials needed to build a much, much better one.
And that, of course, brings us to the great cosmic restoration project, the reboot. This is the world of tikkun, or rectification, and it's built on a completely new, stable architecture of pure balance. And look at that. We're right back to that key idea from the very first line, makala, the balance. This is the core innovation of Cosmic OS 2.0. It's the principle that harmonizes opposing forces. It doesn't get rid of judgment or gevura. It balances it with mercy or chesed, using a mediating third principle. And this creates a dynamic, stable, three-column system that can finally handle the flow of divine light without breaking. And here you can see what that balanced architecture actually looks like. Instead of those isolated lone wolf forces, you get this beautiful system of cosmic checks and balances. See the right column, the expansive energy of mercy, chesed? It's contained and given form by the contracting energy of the left column, judgment, gevura, and, this is the key, they're both harmonized by that middle column, which is centered on tiferet, or beauty. This structure is what prevents any one force from totally overwhelming the system. The source describes this whole thing as a very deliberate, top-down process. It all gets initiated in the highest, most concealed divine configuration, called Atika Kadisha. It's up there that the principle of balance is installed as the new core protocol. From there, all of creation gets reconfigured into these stable personas that can actually interact, face-to-face. And finally, a new, modulated, sustainable light flows down to animate this whole new rectified reality. Okay, so far, this has all been a massive, kind of abstract cosmic drama. But what does any of it have to do with us? Well, as it turns out, everything. This is where it all gets incredibly personal. We are not spectators in this story. We are active, essential members of the restoration team.
Let's try a video game analogy. The world of Tohu? That was like a game beta, with ridiculously overpowered single-class characters. Imagine a team of all glass cannons. Insane damage, but no defense, no healing. They couldn't work together. The Shavira? That was the inevitable server crash. Tikkun, our world, is the stable release, with balanced character classes that need teamwork to succeed. And our mission? Every time we perform a positive, conscious action, we're basically completing a quest to find one of those fallen sparks. Think of it like a divine loot drop that's needed to repair and upgrade the entire game world.
Or hey, if you're more of a tech person, try this one. Tohu was OS 1.0. It had incredible processing power, but zero error checking or memory management, so it was just fundamentally unstable. The shattering was a system-wide kernel panic, literally the blue screen of death for the cosmos. Tikkun is OS 2.0, a fault-tolerant multi-core system. And our role? We are the users running the defragmentation and error correction scripts. Every mitzvah, every act of kindness, we're helping to optimize the entire system. So our purpose, really, is to engage with the physical world in a conscious way. It means finding the holiness in the mundane. You know, the food you eat isn't just fuel. It's a chance to elevate the life force inside it. The work you do isn't just a job. It's a chance to bring order and creativity into your little corner of the world. By doing ordinary things with extraordinary awareness, we find, we elevate, and we reintegrate those holy sparks back into the whole. This reframes everything, doesn't it? The challenges you face, the work on your desk, the relationships you're building, they are all arenas for this incredible cosmic restoration project. So the real question becomes, where in your world, right now, today, are the fallen sparks just waiting for you to find them and lift them up?
So, where is all this heading? We've journeyed from a hidden blueprint to a cosmic crash, and from a grand reboot to our own personal mission. So now, let's look at the final goal, the assembly of a truly perfected world. This timeline really recaps the entire epic narrative, doesn't it? It starts with the perfect, concealed blueprint. It moves right through the catastrophic failure of Tohu. That leads to the construction of Tikkun, our stable but still incomplete reality. Which brings us to today, our present mission, gathering all the scattered sparks. And it's all pointing toward a future completion, a time when the very last spark is elevated and the world finally achieves the perfected state it was meant to have from the very beginning.
And this incredible quote from the prophet Isaiah gives us a little glimpse of this final state of total reunification. It describes a time when every separated spark, every single fragmented piece of creation, will joyfully and consciously reclaim its identity as part of the divine whole. Each part, in its own unique way, will declare, "I belong to the source." So you see, the cosmic drama of Tohu and Tikkun isn't just some ancient story, it's the very operating system of our lives. Every single time we choose balance over imbalance, connection over isolation, we are literally writing a line of code for a healed universe. The great cosmic restoration project isn't happening somewhere out there in some distant galaxy. It's happening right here, right now, through you.